In this one, we're going to go ahead and break down Metro Boomin's Superhero featuring Future and Chris Brown. So in this track, there are two tempos. The main portion of the track is 117 beats per minute recorded in F minor. And the outro of the track right over here is 160 beats per minute recorded in D minor. But we'll get to that in a moment. Let's start off with the first main section of the track. And let's focus in on the horns right over here, or the brass instruments. This is what it sounds like on its own. So for that instrument, I went ahead and used Logic's Mississippi Joint preset. You can find that under Studio Horns 7-piece section and the Mississippi Joint preset. And I added in a couple of effects on this here. So this is what it sounds like without the effects added in. We'll go through one by one. So the reason why I have two of these instruments over here is because on the second one, I needed this one note to be in there, but I couldn't quite get it with the delay. So I just put the note in manually over here. Next, what I did here was I brought in gain just to make it a little bit louder. Then I brought in Logic's echo, put it on a quarter note delay. And this is the settings I have set. Next up, I brought in Logic's multipressor right over here, and this is just going to make it brighter. And then I brought in Logic's chorus just to widen that up. And then I went ahead and put on an exciter just to sort of give it a little bit more shimmer. It's very subtle, but it adds to the sound. And then layered underneath that is these strings right over here. And for that, what I'm using actually two sets of strings. One, I'm using Logic Studio cellos. They can be found under Studio Strings, Studio Cellos. I didn't really do too much to this sound over here, just added in a little bit of an echo. And for the second set of, well, this is what it sounds like on its own. And then I added in a second set of strings, just to give it that mid-rangey mellotron sound that it had in the original track. And for that, I'm using Logic's Mellotron and pulled it on 3 violins, tape speed and tone turned down all the way. So together, they both sound like this. Next up, let's get to the drums. All right, so we'll start off with the snare. All right, then we have our hi-hats and it looks like this. And then we have an open hat. Then we have an 808. To get that muffled 808 sound, I just went ahead and just pulled down the cutoff in Logic Sampler to about 50% to take that out. And I added in, let's close that, I added in a little bit of saturation with a soft clipper over here in Logic's Fat Effects to give it that boomy type of sound. Next up, we have the kick. So the kick is actually not hitting on every single 808. The way Metro Boomin likes to do his 808s I found on this album is 1, place the kicks where you want to have emphasis, and 2, don't always have the 808 stretched out fully. Have it stop and then let the kick hit. So it kind of gives you this nice bounce. So take a close look here. You see how the 808 is not stretched out fully on all of them. So where this 808 stops right over here, the kick is going to come in right after to give you that stop and go effect that Metro Boomin likes to use. Now for that 808, if you want to control the length with your MIDI, just open up Logic's Quick Sampler and go to classic mode. So this way you'll be able to control how long that sample is, depending of course how long your actual sample is. But I can stretch this out because my sample's long and control the length of that sample. All right, next up we have a couple of Vox chants over here. So we got this one. And we just have a delay on it, a quarter note delay just to get that to ring out a bit. We have this one over here, the classic Metro chant. And then we have this one. And the last part to this drum kit over here is the rolling snares. So they sound like this. Let me just solo out the drums. All right, so this is what the pattern looks like. So just a bunch of pitched sort of snare rolls before the next sections. So that's pretty much it for the drums. And then we get this section over here. We have the horns, the drums, and then it brings in these bells right over here. So for that, I'm using Logic's Alchemy. And I'm using the Alentine bells preset on the Warm Ring Performance. I pulled up the bell over here, pulled up a lot of the reverb, pulled back the cutoff, and pulled up some of the chorus, and pulled back the release as well. But on the sound, I also brought in a reverb just to make it a little bit more roomy. Next up, we have this section over here where the horns drop out. And we get this keys section. Once again, I'm using Logic's Alchemy. Now I wish I could tell you what preset I'm using, but for some reason it's not showing it me over here. But on that sound, I added in some chorus, space designer, and a little bit of EQ just to shape it. So this is what it sounds like without the chorus. The chorus just makes it a little bit softer and wider. And of course the reverb to give it some space. And with the drums, all right, and then moving forward to the outro, which is actually one of my favorite parts of the track. All right, so let's break that outro down. First off, we have this muffled sort of tom snare thing. All right, so that's like pretty much the only percussion in this outro. For the sound, I use Logic Steinway Grand Piano. I brought in a couple of effects to give it that wishy-washy type of sound. So these are the effects that I brought in on the piano. First is that tape delay to give it that pitched wobble effect. Otherwise, it's just pitched properly. There's no wobble to it. But if you use Logic's tape delay with these settings, you get this wobble effect. Listen. And to give it more of that sort of sampled wide sound, I brought in Logic's chorus. See how that just fills it up a bit. And then lastly, just some EQ just to shape the piano. And then layered underneath that is the string section. It's just like some of this arpeggiation work. And for that, I'm using Logic's Studio Cellos, found under Studio Strings, Studio Cellos. And together, those two sounds like this. On those two tracks, I went ahead and created more of a space for it. So I pulled in Logic Space Designer and just once again, give it more room. Pull down a little bit of the dry, so it kind of pushes it back in the mix a little bit, makes you feel more in like a moody type of atmosphere. Then layered with that, in the bass section, you have this bass over here. It's kind of in the background, but it's there. I'm using Logic's IAMM synthesizer. This is what I played with. I started off with the classic acid bass preset and then just adjusted some of the parameters just to make it more of a wider sound. Once again, pulled in Logic's chorus. This guitar summer preset I really love. All right, then all together, just to get an idea. And then layered with all of that, there was like this sort of atmosphere crowd sound that was in the background. And it sounds like this. For this sound, I just went over to Logic's loop browser. I searched crowd and you get this one over here. Crowded Hall 2 is the one I chose. I liked it better over Crowded Hall 1, but it gives you that atmosphere that was in the track itself. And it really just gives you a nice wall of sound. Next up, we have this stuttery section over here. So to achieve that effect on the master track, I pulled in Logic's remix effects and I just automated what I wanted to happen here. So I automated the gate over here and the filter cutoff to add in a little bit of resonance. So on my master track, this is what the automation looks like for each one. It kind of looks all over the place, but I'll visually show it to you right here in remix effects. And then this outro section over here, we have this tape stop effect, and it sounds like this. And to get that tape stop effect, I pulled up Logic's remix effects once again, and just used the tape stop effect built into it, and just automated that in, and this is what it looks like. So that's pretty much the remake right there, remade in Logic Pro. So let's go ahead and take a listen to the entire session. Metro Boomin's Superhero featuring Future and Chris Brown. Let's go. So there's the beat right there, remade in Logic Pro, Metro Boomin Superhero featuring Future and Chris Brown. For your Logic users out there, I will go ahead and save this entire session for you, place it as a downloadable link below this video. For those of you who don't use Logic, I got your back as well. I'm gonna go and export all the mini stems, audio stems, and of course include the drum kit that you heard in this remake. You can find that entire playback below the like button. Speaking of the like button, if you did enjoy this video, definitely drop a like, it does help out the channel. But on that, if you do have any questions on this, we can go and chat in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, we'll catch you on the next one. Later, peace.